Hello everyone, my name is Ruijia, also known as Vanessa, and I will be presenting my final project mini task-based syllabus. So my presentation will be broken down into 5 specific sections. Part 1 is where I will introduce the context, demographics, and situation wherein this curriculum will be based. And Part 2 will detail how I will conduct a needs analysis to derive topics and macro functions for my curriculum. And Part 3 will take an in-depth dive on step 4 and step 5 of my task sequence. And part 4 will explain how I will be assessing my students' success. So over the past 3 months, I have been serving as an ESL instructor at a Chinese church and school called Holy Redeemer. And the classroom we occupy is not equipped with any electronic technology, but we do have a handy, reliable whiteboard to write on and the potential to use wall outlets if we do bring a laptop or other electronic device. Because I will be continue serving as an instructor this in fall of 2018. I would like to use this mini task-based syllabus final project to flesh out that curriculum. Our class size and classroom is small, and our 7 to 10 students collectively sit at one long wooden table. And the students of this course are Mandarin L1 new immigrant speakers from China with A1 CEFR English proficiency. The class is dedicated to teaching practical everyday English that will be functional and helpful for living in this new country and home, America. So my students are all recent immigrants and workers that want to be more competent with communicating with native English speakers. Since I will be instructing at Holy Redeemer Church in the fall in order to fulfill the teaching requirement for EDUC 563, which is TESOL seminar, the official institutional decision makers that determine the students' needs will be the director of the ESL program, my co-teacher for the ESL program, Ruijia, and me. The director has given my co-teacher and I liberty to plan the curriculum, so my co-teacher and I will conduct the needs analysis, but the topics, functions, and methodologies might be further influenced by the demands of the TESOL seminar and what the professor wants us to try out. The curriculum will take into account both the objective and subjective needs of the students and reserve the right for the curriculum to be adjusted to become aligned with their evolving needs and interests. The objective needs will be determined in consideration of my students' specific demographic features, patterns of language use associated with their demographic, and their specific level of proficiency. The subjective needs will come from the student service administered the first day of class. So I balance the two types of needs but lean towards the objective estimation since according to Van Avermaet and Jason, not paying attention to learners' objective needs may not be in the long-term interests of the learners because second language learners do not always have a clear idea of the linguistic demands of certain domains, and they may have a relatively limited knowledge of the Western world. I will create a list of objective needs provided to students in terms of a survey that asks them to rank the level of need to learn various tasks I have selected. And also in the back of the survey, students can write any other themes, topics, content, or functions they would like to cover. As President states that to tease out which target tasks are of primary importance in the learner's needs profiles, so as to use the limited classroom time that is available as effectively as possible. So a tentative list of objective needs in the form of real-world target tasks are detailed in Appendix 1. Which is students' subjective reported needs and priorities will be assessed, reconciled, and balanced against the list of objective needs. So I will create a list of objective needs provided to students in the form of a survey that asks them to rank the level of need to learn various tasks I have selected. And also in the back of the survey, students can write any other themes, topics, content, or functions they would like to cover. These are various needs organized into a list and ordered by topic. So the overall goal of the curriculum is to prepare my students linguistically and mentally to navigate real-world situations in which a certain level of communicative competency is required in order to effectively socialize with others or exchange goods and services. A coverage of the those static macro-function will be marginal, and since my students' immediate needs are practical and survival-oriented, as instead of using language to purely enjoy for the sake of it. The thematic units for my curriculum will be meeting and connecting with people, going to the doctors, financial matters, travel, work, housing, and more. My students are new immigrants, acclimating to this completely new environment and target tasks that help them with acquiring and negotiating goods and services seem most relevantly helpful, and since they would satisfy their most basic needs, individuals in modern society. The more relevant these tasks and goals are to them, the more motivated and engaged they will be. So this is what I'm aiming for. Newman terms this a survival needs type of course that addresses functional language abilities that immigrants need urgently. So the first thematic unit, the unit that is designed to have the most amount of real-world target tasks relative to the rest of the units, is meeting and connecting with people. The main real-world target task goal of this task sequence that I've chosen to develop, derive, and analyze here in this report is talk about hobbies and leisure activities. This task sequence is located within the first thematic unit of the class on meeting and connecting with people. Although the main task will test students' capability of accomplishing the real-world target task goal, the steps or tasks that leads up to it'll comprise of tasks or communicative exercises and language activities that build enabling skills. This thematic unit and task sequence has the goal of teaching students language skills that help them be more willing to socialize, to take risks in their communication, leave their comfort zone, and communicate effectively with native speakers, such as introductions and small talk like socializing about hobbies and leisure activities. My needs and target tasks goals will always try to use authentic texts as well as authentic procedures as much as possible. This thematic unit comprises of target tasks that are purely social in microfunction. It's important for students to be able to make casual conversation and connect with others as new immigrants. So this real-world target task of talk the order mimics the natural flow of couple hobbies and leisure activities, comes after introduce yourself to others, because conversation and in the final task, students will recycle the language learned in the introduce yourself to others target goal and task to complete the pedagogical task, talk about hobbies and leisure activities. So for my students to meet and connected with people, they must first introduce themselves, like their names, age, country of origin, and why they immigrated to America. Then they can smoothly get into talking about another topic, such as one's hobbies and leisure activities. My task sequence has 5 steps. So the first step is schema building. The second step is controlled practice, and step 3 is authentic listening practice, and step 4 is focus on linguistic elements, and the last step is introduce the pedagogical task. The 2 tasks from this task sequence that I want to describe and present here are the last 2 steps of the task sequence. Step 4, focus on linguistic elements, has of 2 parts. The first part comprises of a bus groups discussion where students divide into 3 groups and must use the previous authentic text provided in the listening task to identify phrases that contain the verbs play, do, and go, and deliberate to reach a consensus about the grammar patterns that correspond to the verbs. The second part of step 4 contains the actual language instruction using a PowerPoint entitled How to Talk About Your Hobbies and Leisure Activities, using play, do, and go to affirm, correct, or cement what students presented from the bus groups discussion. Step 5, introduce the pedagogical task, contains an information gap task where students rank and write down their 2 favorite hobbies and leisure activities, and then interview each student in the class to find out where others' hobbies are. In order to prioritize mini, students are not given any explicit instruction or sentence frames to use to ask their classmates questions or respond to their classmates in any particular way. But instead, they will think in their minds what they need to say and use whatever linguistic resources they have to say it. Hopefully, they picked up some ideas from the authentic listening practice activity. The pedagogical task is also the assessment task for my mini curriculum syllabus. The information gap task is a great assessment tool because it's a student-student diet format. During this information gap activity, students will primarily work together autonomously while I move around and write notes on my rubric regarding fluency, vocabulary, grammar, and elaborative performance, which will consist of also language points that I will want to analyze and practice in the post stage with my students. Information gap as an assessment is a strong choice because it increases student talk time, boosts student engagement, integrates authentic communication situations, and encourages critical thinking skills and teamwork. Thank you for your listening. For more specific detailed information on my mini curriculum, please refer to my paper directly. Thank you.